Okay, good evening. I'm Magda Teter. I'm the Schwidler Chair in Judaic Studies at Fordham University and a co-director of the Center for Jewish Studies here. And I'm delighted to welcome you to the final evening of the retrospective series of films by filmmaker Menachem Daum. We began a few weeks ago with A Life Apart, Hasidim in America, a 1997 film introducing Americans to the Hasidic community. We then watched Hiding and Seeking, a truly remarkable documentary about the Daum family's trip to Poland in search of places from which their family came and survived the Holocaust. And then last week, we watched The Ruins of Lifta, a documentary about Lifta, the only Palestinian village that was abandoned during the 1948 war and remained undeveloped and unpopulated. Its ruins prompted Menachem Daum to reflect on the two related events and meta-narratives, the Holocaust and the Nakba. This film series is part of our theme on disagreement in Jewish history, which we hope will allow us to reflect on disagreements as both generative but also potentially destructive. Menachem Daum grappled with disagreements, clashing visions of the world, and sought to build bridges, and as he said, heal old wounds. But not by avoiding difficult topics, but by probing them deeply. Watching his films, we sometimes smile, cry, nod, or even wince. But he did not purge his films of controversial voices to smooth things out for reconciliation. He portrayed diverse opinions precisely to help us face and counter stereotypes. Today we'll explore in unfinished films, a legacy he left to his longtime collaborator Oren Rudavsky, about the complex post-Holocaust history and memory of Jews in Poland. The unfinished film, which Menachem called Memory Keepers, deals with the complex issues that are facing Poland and Polish Jewish history and memory. Tonight we'll start with a short presentation by Kamila Klauzińska, whom you saw in two of his films, one in a cameo, but one more at length. Menachem's close collaborator in Poland. After her presentation, Rivka Daum will say a few words, and then Oren Rudavsky will share the cut of the film that he put together from the hours and hours of footage. And then afterwards, we'll have a discussion with Kamila, Aleksandra, Oren, and moderated by me. Before I introduce and turn over the podium to Kamila, I want to express my gratitude to all of you for joining us here in person and online, to so many of you whose generosity makes programs like these possible, to the Gebeli IT for their technical support and making the live streaming possible as well. So let me introduce Kamila and then Aleksandra and Oren as well. So Kamila Klauzińska holds a Ph.D. in Jewish Studies from Jagiellonian University in Krakow and serves as the executive committee of the International Institute for Jewish Genealogy. She's the recipient of many honors and awards, but I want to highlight one of them, very special. She's the recipient of the Golden Cross of Merit from the President of Poland for her work preserving Jewish heritage. She has curated numerous exhibitions on Jewish history and at the Museum of History in Zduńska Wola, and also the Cultural Center at the Ratusz, the historic town hall in Zduńska Wola, including last year an exhibit, Menachem Daum, Full of Contradictions. For over 16 years, she served as the Polish co-producer and assistant to Menachem Daum. So after the presentation and the screening, we'll be joined by Aleksandra Gliszczyńska-Grabias, whom we had last time, who is a professor of international human rights law at the Institute of Law Studies at the Polish Academy of Sciences. Her scholarly work is situated at the intersection of constitutional law, legal mechanisms for combating anti-Semitism, freedom of expression, the protection of vulnerable groups, and the legal governance of historical memory, topics very important and relevant to this series. She's the co-editor and co-author of several books, The Politics of Memory Laws, Russia, Ukraine, and Beyond, which came out last year, Freedom of Religion, Minority Rights and the Law, Status of Jewish and Muslim Minorities in Europe and Beyond, that also came out last year, and Constitutionalism Under Stress, which came out in 2020. And Oren, I don't know whether he needs an introduction, but he is a director and film producer, has many, many credits under his belt. He received prestigious grants and fellowships, the Guggenheim Fellowship, grants from the NEA and NEH, and collaborated with Menachem on most of his films, The Life Apart, Hiding and Seeking, The Ruins of Lifta, and now The Memory Keepers, which he is trying to finish. He's also working on the fictionalized version of Hiding and Seeking, and most recently, his most recent film was Elie Wiesel's Soul on Fire, which has won several awards at various film festivals. So Kamila, without further ado, the podium and the floor is yours.
So first of all, I would like to say you a few words about the presentation I prepared for today, which is constructed with the picture we use in the book. We publish a book about Menachem in Poland, which was actually prepared for his first Yortzeit. This year we have the second Yortzeit. And we really wanted to commemorate and give our respect to our dear friend. And of course, I didn't work on that book myself. I cooperate with Kasia Buczkowska, who is here with us, and Jessica Szczepańska from Dzialoszyce. Dzialoszyce you saw in Hiding and Seeking. And in preparing this book, we were trying to go, through the ideas and messages Menachem. Sorry, I'm not. Okay. So we wanted to go just through the messages and ideas of Menachem, how the world should be, and how we can change this world. Because Menachem was not like a typical filmmaker for me. So, he was a person, as you can see in the title, who was all the time trying to repair the world. As some of you know, in the Jewish culture is the concept of tikkun olam, so repairing the world. And this is exactly what Menachem was doing during this all 20 years working on the film. As you know also already from one of the previous films, Menachem says that his parents, they gave him a name Menachem because he really feel that he will be their consoler, right? Bringing a happiness in their life after the Holocaust and this trauma tragedy. And I would like to say that Menachem was a consoler also for me and for other memory keepers. Even he never called himself like this, that he can bring some life or happiness to our lives. But Menachem, he really, he changed my life and he changed the life, I believe, other memory keepers we met together. So let me, this story just say in a most personal way, because I think it will be worth to learn something about what was the process of Menachem working on the film. Of course, everything started in Zduńska Wola when we met first time. You saw Hiding and Seeking, and I didn't speak any English that time, so I had a very big problem to communicate with Menachem. But very quickly I found out that this man is like someone totally special man. As Rivka says at the one of last discussion panel, he was extremely interesting and also inspiring man. First of all, he started to give me the story about Zduńska Wola, which was, of course, that time very important for me, but he also taught me many other things, not only the history of my town. Menachem just showed me how we can behave with the other people and how we can overcome stereotypes which we inherit at home. Actually, what was interesting, Menachem inherited the stereotypes in his home that Poles are not good people and mostly anti-Semites. I've never inherited such an opinion about Jews because my family, in the school, of course, we didn't get any lesson about the Jewish history, but from my family, there was the story that my grandpa used to live at street where only Jewish people used to live, and then they were killed, all of them. But there was never, a sense of anti-Semitism or any kind of stereotypes of that people. They were just the neighbors of my grandfather. And, when Menachem came to Zduńska Wola, I suddenly find out that there is someone who can share the same stories as I get from my home, from my grandfather. And, so we start to talk about the history of Zduńska Wola, we start to talk about the history of Poland, and Menachem, he says that he really would like to learn something more about Polish people, he really would like to learn something about the Polish history, so we started to travel through Poland, through different places, to different places, and he was very interested in not only the history, but also the religion, Christians, Catholics in Poland. So, when I took him from the airport, he says, Kamila, I heard there is a Black Madonna in Częstochowa. Let's go to Black Madonna in Częstochowa. And that's how he tried to experience Polish history by himself, not only from the book. Even he was a great humanist and he really read everything, I guess, possible about Poland. So I was even surprised when, once I went to his office and I found a book about Piłsudski or some others very important person in our history, Maria Curie-Skłodowska, whatever, you could find a lot of books like that in Menachem Library. And Menachem, traveling through Poland, as you learn from Hiding and Seeking, the first place he visited was Dzialoszyce, or rather Bronów village, and he met there this righteous people. Honorata Mucha, you can see her over here at the picture, but not all people know what's going on after he left Bronów and Dzialoszyce, because some people think that, okay, this guy came with his family, he made a film, and that's it. But it was not Menachem. When he met someone in Poland, he continued to be in touch with these people, build the bridges, and build a strong connection with all people he met on his way. So, for example, with Miss Mucha, we used to meet each year. He even attended the wedding of her granddaughter. So that's, how Menachem treated his mission, not only working on the film, but still building bridges. And also, finally, in some moment, he find out that he really wants to accept also his Polish identity. So he asked for the Polish passport, and when the museum, for example, Museum Polin was open and we went to the ceremony, Menachem was just walking through the museum showing his passport. I am Polish, you see, I am so proud I am Polish, because Menachem, he also taught me how to be a Polish patriot. Maybe it's strange, but it's really, Menachem did it. And Menachem also, when we travel through all of these places, we visit memory keepers, he saw that those people need help from the former residents, Jewish former residents, but not always they get it because no one wanted to come back, right, to the place. Like, for example, to Dzialoszyce, not too much people from Dzialoszyce wanted to come back. Of course, the reason was obvious, what's happened in Dzialoszyce, not only from the side of German people, but also Polish people, right, who used to sometimes also killed Jewish residents. So this relation was very, very difficult, and Menachem says that, okay, even if some people think in a different way, maybe they think that I am a little bit crazy with my idea, but I will be this Jew, I will represent all of Jews, just helping to memory keepers, to giving them them hope to continue their holy work, as Menachem used to say. And here you can see the picture of the last meeting of Menachem and Miss Mucha, who was waiting for him each year. And I think that this picture gives us exactly how Menachem, how was the relation of Menachem, not only with Miss Mucha, but also with the other Poles. What I would like to add here, that when we watch the films by Menachem, when, okay, we can see that Menachem visited this place and that place, but we need to be aware that it was not such easy for Menachem as well. And we need to remember how big effort he undertook to change himself as well. He shocked me once when, when I first met Menachem, I feel like, with someone from my family. I didn't feel any barriers or whatever, right? We were just talking and feeling like at home. And suddenly, after a few years, Menachem showed me the footage when he traveled to Poland with Shlomo Karlbach, showed me the footage of some of survivors, and he said, Kamila, I've never thought I will come to Poland because Poland was like a forbidden place, and I was really afraid to come here as well. And I was educated that Poles are not good people. And I was shocked because I said, listen, but you love Polish people, you love Poland much more than some Polish people. So really, we need to remember how a big effort he undertook to change his way of thinking. And then when he get this goal, then he tried to incorporate this among the other people. Menachem, traveling through Poland and building the relation with Poles, in certain moment, he also started to educate people. So it was not only traveling through Poland, interview people, even our meeting, we met very well-known people from from Poland, like, from the universities, let's say Konstanty Geber, Professor Dariusz Stola, etc. But also simple people. No one knows about them, but they are still in the small places taking care of Jewish heritage. And so Menachem, he just collect the knowledge from all of those people. And in certain moment, he start, as I mentioned, educate. We attend the conference together with Dr. Kerry Burns. You can see her on the left side. So, for example, in Yad Vashem, there was the conference dedicated to Holocaust education. Menachem gave the presentation. There was the conference about the Jewish genealogy. Menachem gave the presentation, showing some footages of his new film. So talking about Menachem, we need to be aware of very diverse activity of him. And I am saying you all of this because I really feel responsible to be also his voice, even maybe not the best one, but still, an advocate, because I am very worried that one day people will, they will watch the film, but they will not remember that behind the camera there was a very special man. So Menachem was very thankful to all of these people he met on his way, and he still believed that what he started will be continued by the next generation. But as he said, he was just a wandering Jew, and it will take for sure a time when some plants will grow up of what he seeds, these plants. And you can see some more pictures of Menachem giving the proclamation from the New York department on the left side, from New York department to the fire department in Zdrójska Wola, for example, meeting with one of the oldest Jews, 100 years old, Mr. Price in Góra Kalwaria, during the ceremony, working at the cemetery, interview people. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm very moved by, I've never talked about Menachem. I know that it was maybe not I wish to present this, but it's a very moved moment for me. Sorry for it. I hope that all of you who saw this Menachem's film will just remember that those films is not only the stories about Lifta, not only the story about rages among the nation, but it's really the testament, the will Menachem tried to leave for all of us for the future. Thank you very much.
Really unscheduled. I just wanted to take a minute to thank Magda, her whole department. It came to a surprise, as a surprise to the family, my children, everybody, because we didn't know we had a Menachem Daum. We know we had a Menachem Daum in the family, but we just thought he was another person, you know, like he was our husband and father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and he had another life. They didn't always come together, but sometimes they did, because he was always going someplace. And we didn't quite know what he did, but it was fine, because he didn't abandon us. And the fact that he's so well known out there, they still talk about him in his synagogue. They put up a plaque, and everybody says we miss him, because he was somebody for everybody. And I think one of the main things that he tries to say, tell everybody, is tell the stories, tell the stories, tell the stories. Everybody knows that in our synagogue we had Holocaust survivors, and he would sit with them. That was the table. He would bring them coffee. He'd listen to the stories. He did hundreds of interviews. He was more at home with them. He was just separated like a few years, pre-Holocaust, post-Holocaust. I don't know if he ever quite found himself. His kids probably thought he lived in another world. I have my son here who's continuing the legacy against his will. But we hope that this is like more than, but Kamila, he would speak to every week. Marty, who'd you speak today to? Marty, Oren, and everybody else out there that meant so much. Marty was Brother Martin. Oren was somebody that he collaborated with and who's undertaken to continue. And we just appreciate that I remember they did the obituary in the Times, and I said, the Times? Why are they doing an obituary about Menachem Daum? He must have really raided or something, but, because then you know you've made it, right? But we really appreciate everybody's good thoughts, and we're glad that his name will continue among everybody. So that's all I wanted to say, and thank you, Magda, for everything, because you put a lot of work into it, and thank you very much. And I love the discussion afterwards.
Can I first just thank people who are here? Besides Kamila and Magda and my editor, Michael Comet, I just want to thank Marty Dornbaum, who is here, who has been a friend of Menachem's for 30-odd years and has participated in all his films. Of course, his lovely wife, Rivka. I'm not going to try and blow all the Polish names of people here, but Tzvi, his eldest son, who has been extraordinarily helpful and, as Rivka said, either willingly or unwillingly carrying on the tradition. Kasha, who has helped in myriad ways with the production of the film, and I think I'm forgetting somebody else. Jessica, who is in the film and is right here visiting from Poland, and Sebastian, who is not with us, but who I met decades ago and who has worked steadfastly as the cameraman with Menachem and on his own without him, and really want to thank you all for also for being here and for asking us difficult questions.
Yes, so I don't know whether I'll start with difficult questions, but so following up on the comment on the cemetery and the centrality of the cemeteries, although there are also synagogues here, I think I'd like to start with Aleksandra and with Kamila about the helping us understand the significance of the Jewish cemetery, their existence, their restoration, perhaps why in some places they survived, why in some places, and like in Zduńska Wola they did, but in many places there are just sort of forgotten spots, but not forgotten spots. And more perhaps context about the legal and cultural status of these material remains in Poland, Jewish Poland.
Thank you, Magda. Thank you for the invitation, for the movie. I mean, lawyers are not supposed to get emotional, right? But that's what I saw, and was the best of Polishness, and a reason to be a proud Pole for this 45 minutes. And what you're doing, it's just amazing, and I would really, really want this movie, when it will be finished, to be shown, but not only here or in Israel, but in Poland. I think it's extremely important to make aware as many people as possible also in Poland about memory keepers and what it really means for all of us. So now about the legal status of cemeteries, right? It's very different in different places for many different reasons. It's one of the elements, I would say, Kamila will know it much better from her life and practice within this area, but when it comes to strictly legal issues, it's one of the problems that altogether make it, I would say, a huge problem of the Jewish property, of the places that remained, of the old or the ruins of synagogues, etc., etc. And all these issues have never been resolved into, I would say, one complex legal Bill of Rights document that would really make it easier to, then also to make it easier for you to work on these issues, because in some places the old cemeteries they belong to they were returned to the Jewish community, the official organization, the Jewish community. Yeah, some of them are still under. They should be under the protection of the local municipalities, the towns, but the most important question and a lot of issues just deal with the money and with the financial part of actually taking care of these places. So what I would suggest to the current government, what I have suggested to all previous governments that were in power and were sometimes consulting on these issues, even though I always felt that these consultations are only there to be conducted but not concluded in a way, is that should be the law that would comprehensively deal with all these matters, and that would also bring with itself financial contribution of the Polish state in order to take place of our common heritage, our past, and our memory.
Yes, I think that the Jewish cemeteries, it's a quite big problem in Poland. I mean, in taking care for us especially. But I would like to focus on two things. First is that if we are talking about memory keepers, and I know, Magda, you mentioned Jewish cemeteries, but memory keepers is not only about Jewish cemeteries, right? So I think we should call memory keepers, make this term much wider, like people who try to preserve even piece of history, right? Because that's what you said, that sometimes we have no infrastructure of the Jewish cemetery because the bodies are still underground. And it's also very difficult, as Ola says, that, I found the idea how to solve this problem, by the way. And I follow one of survivors legally. It's legally. We only need the people who are willing to do that. So one person did it already in Poland. It's a survivor, Mr. Leon Weintraub. His family, you know him, right? His family is from Dobra. And he found a way how to preserve the Jewish cemetery. His family owns some property in Dobra, but he doesn't need it anymore. But he could ask for this property. So he made a deal with the local authorities that, listen, you can use my property as a marketplace, whatever, but I ask you for that, take care of the Jewish cemetery. And he became friend with the local authorities, finally, because that cemetery used to belong to, I guess, Jewish community of Wrocław. To let in official way to take care of this place, the Jewish cemetery in Dobra, he need to get the right for this property. So he bought this cemetery for 1 zloty. So from the Jewish community. So that's why it's also my idea to do one day in Zduńska Wola. It was my idea in Zduńska Wola, try to buy this cemetery. The problem is that the situation is changing in Poland. The problem is who will be in the local authorities, who will have the power in the town in the future. So, yeah, so just we need to remember that historians at the universities, people who take care of Jewish cemeteries, or just teachers who try to educate next generation, all of them are memory keepers.
No, that's very, very clear, and that's very important to remember. But it's sort of perhaps easier to recover the stories than to preserve the buildings or and that. So speaking of preserving memories, and the film is, the footage is really filled with politics. It has personal stories of each, the four of you in the film, but it is so laden with politics, the politics of multiculturalism, how this memory and the past and the history has been used or manipulated. One of the protagonists, two of you actually think about it, that perhaps it's the way to use it by opposition, right? As a sort of counter narrative of multiculturalism. But multiculturalism has also been appropriated by the right as well to tell a certain version of the Polish stories. We talked about myths and counter-myths of Arab-Jewish relations last time, but this film really highlights the myths and counter-myths of Polish history and Polish-Jewish relations. So I wonder whether the three of you bring it up about politics of memory and the narrative, but so maybe all of you, whether you could reflect on the politics of multiculturalism in Poland and how it's been played out on not just on the left but also on the right, and what are the kind of costs of that?
I'm learning, so I would be the last person who would want to talk about that in any context of depth, and so it's a process of trying not to get things wrong. So I will leave it. I need to learn more from you as well.
Good. I think that it's very difficult to say about multicultural society in Poland today. First of all, we have like almost 38 million people living in Poland. And among them, we have like maybe, let's say, 2 million people, foreigners. And even if we are talking about minorities, ethnical minorities, it's even less. So it's like 5-6%. So what kind of...
But the multiculturalism politics of the past, right?
Yes,
yes,
of course, and it's used, of course, by the politicians, mostly by the ring-wings politicians, and that's what I was saying in the film, right? That a few years ago, not few, in 2015, when one of the party came to the power, they start to show Polish righteous as heroes, and that Poland is so proud of them. It's true, but still there is a question. If Poland is such a proud place of them, why they are afraid to say openly that they used to help Jewish people? It's not normal. So, they are treated instrumentally by the right wings. Yeah.
And when I was thinking of this issue of multiculturalism, I realized, perhaps, I don't know, this is my thought that came to my mind, is that this notion, this word has been so much captured in the very recent, actually, context of migration, that it doesn't really apply to anything else nowadays in Poland. And it is being used in an extremely negative sense. But also before, I would say, the discussion on migration issues and building the wall on the eastern part of Poland on the border with Belarus, I wouldn't say that when it comes to Polish-Jewish relations, I would even use ever such a word. Because, and I think it's for many Poles the same, that this culture and Jewish past is so much ours and so close that it's not even being considered in the categories of different multicultural. We are, or perhaps this is my wishful thinking only, but we are as one in that. So multiculturalism would apply to others, like others, further others, but not to our Jews. I don't know if it makes sense, but that was my impression. But for now, this notion, this definition, it's really being mostly ridiculed or really portrayed in a very negative sense, like, look what's happening in the Western Europe, we don't want this to happen here, that's why we have to protect ourselves.
Yeah, from the perspective of the sort of deeper Polish history, I've seen the politics of multiculturalism, of appropriating the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in that myth of Poland as being the welcoming place. We Poles welcomed everybody, right? That's on the right, and they are, in terms of Jews, and they are not grateful for that, right? This sort of anti-Polonism in that way. And on the left, it seemed, again, roughly defined, because the politics of Poland is complicated, as being using that past to recast Poland not as an ethno-national state, but a state that had all these sort of like, I forget his name, Szymon is doing it, and that look at all these people who lived around us, and we need to preserve that past to sort of remember that thing. I don't know whether you live in Poland, I'm here, whether that resonates with you again from.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, what you said is very important, that Polish political spectrum or scene is complicated, and I'm extremely critical of the Polish left, so to say, generally. Also because I don't believe that that they are treating this issue, this very issue we are talking about, in a way they should, or they are obliged to, if they follow the values that they claim they are standing for. As for the right, I also think that there are different, shades of right and right-wing, and I know a lot of conservative, again, here in the US, conservative, liberal, I'm still learning the distinctions. And everyone asks me, where am I? And I'm always saying that I cannot really, place myself within this political scene, because I don't know what does it really mean nowadays to be a conservative and to be a liberal. But anyhow, I think that there are a lot of conservative people in Poland that take much more care about the past in the way we're trying to do this. And the left is failing in a way, and the liberal part is failing. And the best proof of this is that when the infamous, I think I talked about it 2 weeks ago, but when the infamous Holocaust bill was being enacted in Poland in 2018, that criminalizes the wrongful accusations against the Polish nation for the crimes committed against the Jews, there was like almost a consensus. Okay, some abstained, some four members of the Polish parliament, if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 6 only voted against. This is like, bipartisan or for-partisan support for the idea that the Polish nation cannot be defamed by talking about difficult past. So that would be my answer to your question.
I agree with you. So.
And to tie, Kamila, to what you said, that memory keeping is more than just cemeteries. One thing that struck me was language in the film. I don't know how much came across for those of you who don't know Polish, because it's difficult to convey some of these phrases into English. But there is this, even from some of the well-meaning characters in the film, there is this sort of latent anti-Semitic language, whether it is to refer to Jews not as Żydzi but as Żydki, or whether it is to long for the beautiful Dzialoszyce that had Jews and was so prosperous, and now it's not. And there are a number of those moments. But I wonder how whether you could sort of reflect on the language and that is used and that is or is changing in Poland, and how both of you are dealing with this. You talk about it in the film, about the pushback that your husband was getting because of your work. How both of you are dealing with these issues of Jewish past, law, memory, anti-Semitism, are dealing with those issues in your work.
First of all, Magda, what you were saying about these stereotypes or frozen language, I was just, Oren, I'm sorry, I'm not, I understand that, it's very important to use those characters in the film. I mean, those, the residents of former, actually today, the residents of Dzialoszyce, the older people, because they passed away. They were talking like 20 years ago, and according to my experience today, if we are talking about well-educated people, I have no problem with that, right? With such a language, with such stereotypes. So Poland is really changing a lot. Of course, we have still, I would say, some crazy people with, just spreading these stereotypes, anti-Semitism, but the only one we can do is to educate them. Yeah, we can meet these people everywhere, actually. That's what you said, that it's, it's very interesting because sometimes some people, they say nothing. They do nothing, but you know that they really not protect what you are doing. They don't protect you, they don't support you, It's like, I would say that today, rather, we don't listen such words like brzydki or whatever. We listen as silent, which is even more danger and worse than the word brzydki. It's my own opinion. Because, those people, from one hand, they say nothing openly, but, behind your back, they create a different story about you, about your life, and especially today, it can be danger for us, for those who take care of Jewish heritage.
Yes, absolutely, but mostly for people like Kamila, because even though I have dealt with Polish-Jewish relations in this legal sphere and legal, I would say, constitutional memory studies, etc., for the last 15 years, I have always been protected in a way because I worked abroad a lot, and this is still a academic world. It's not that easy to go after you, even though we know the examples that even great prominent Holocaust scholars in Poland were sued, and I was coordinating the defense of many of them. So I'm really happy that I could contribute to this. But these anti-Semitic motifs that we heard and the words, as you said, this was 20 years ago, right? So the situation has changed for better, but still, I would say these things are so deeply embedded that sometimes they are just shockingly coming up. Like it's from personal perspective. My grandma got a new apartment, and there was a party, welcoming party, and one of her friends brought her this picture of a Jew with a coin. I stood there, my grandma got frozen, she knew that I will do something really aggressive towards this friend of her, and so the party ended with me giving a lecture, like 3 hours long about the anti-Semitic motives. This poor lady was almost crying. She really didn't know, but it is even worse that she didn't know what does it mean and why. And the worst thing is that she had no problem with getting this thing in Poland to buy it. It's widespread. It's all over. So it's still there. Sometimes better hidden, I would say. But still, I believe that a lot has changed for the good, for the better.
So I'll finish with so when we think about the discussion we had last time and the film last time, and today in the film today, it seems like there is a contrasting sort of approach to. So Hillel Cohen last time said that he said people respond to narratives and they don't care about history, right? And in order to sort of approach and reach reconciliation, we need to understand these narratives in that way. And it seems like the film makes the opposite case, that it is through history, through facing the past, that we can kind of come to certain reckoning and certain peace, certain perhaps reconciliation. Yet we also see the kind of communal memory being made, right? The scouts going and the new kind of civic rituals that are being created. So I wonder whether the three of you could reflect on that question of reckoning with the past, of dealing with narratives, but also what role really that hard history plays in this process.
I guess I would contrast what I think we're trying to do. I see there's text and subtext, and there's characters. And what I'm interested in is these remarkable individuals, including Kamila and Menachem, and Shimon and Jessica and Janusz, who are on their own journeys, and so that is my narrative. And in the context of that narrative, we're just trying to find the story there. And yes, it begins with history and these old timers who speak using language that may be racist, along with Rivka's father, who uses the word Polakin. I don't know how racist that sounds to a Polish person. Yiddish, whatever. I don't know how that, Schwarz for black people and Jidki. I don't know how that comes across. It's there, and I can tell it rubs a uncomfortable chord for the three of you who are Polish and
it's important to keep it. I think it's very important to keep that maybe dated. That this is a certain. But I think it would be too clean if you just told the story of the four memory keepers, even though they refer constantly to this sort of tension and the rubbing against people who are pushing back against what they do in some ways. But I really do think that this is important to keep to, and I think that's what Menachem wanted to do, right? To include these different voices together, precisely to avoid stereotyping, whether it's for good, all Poles are good and save Jews, or whether it's to counteract that Poles are horrible and all are anti-Semites. So I think it's really, really important to keep these different voices, because they do capture certain moments, certain past, certain experiences, certain covering up of certain experiences. I think I could hear in some of the elderly people reminiscing back. So I think it's really important.
I mean, I know we're going to get a chance to hear from people out there, but I think, you know, I don't know to what degree that history has to be repeated. I'm trying to find that, you know, First Cut had much more of it. I don't know how relevant it is to understanding this story or to understand Menachem and all that. And so you are, I'd love to hear about that, but first to address what your question was.
No, you know, for me, actually, it was like a second time, but first in this version, what I saw. And I need to say that, you know, it's not easy for me when we were working with Menachem for so many years, and you, Magda, you're right, absolutely, that different point of view is very important, right, to show to the public too, because not everyone knows very well this history details, you know. But I was very familiar with the narrative by Menachem, who rather, you know, that was the problem why he didn't finish this film. So maybe this is the answer how to finish finally, because and Menachem was looking for a good story, and that's what Menachem says, that he's meeting all the time good people, but he's not finding a good story, right? So there was still not too much drama or whatever, right? So this makes sense right now, I guess, in your narrative. I really like it. But I have a problem only with this old people, because maybe if we add also some more voices of young generation, it would be fantastic, Oren.
We plan to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
But we're going to make you pay for each young person we put in. No, I'm kidding. I just want to say on the subject of money, because that, of course, is a really something I don't know how to get into this, but you know, I started going to Poland in 1985, and it's interesting how many, you know, this is counter-racist or whatever, but how many Jews would say, why are these Poles doing this? They must be getting paid. You know, and it's like, no, none of them, they weren't getting paid. Not only weren't they getting paid, they were living in the woods without bathrooms. And they were, you know, getting people angry at them. And so I don't know where I'm going with that thought, but that was a joke, as you know. Just a little bit.
I thought the same, that perhaps adding this latest perspectives and some kind of updated versions of course, this will never be the same what the direct witnesses of the past told you and what we heard here. But really, there are many people who can bring even completely different way of thinking on their own motivations, why they're trying to keep this memory, why they're taking risks, personal, you know, in professional life, etc., their careers, because it's still, as you said, it's still a risk, perhaps of different kind. But and it's, again, I agree that it depends a lot on the current political situation. What I would add and say is that it's also very important to stick to facts and to demand the truth and the facts to be said, even without, you know, analyzing or judging. But we cannot let the false narratives, distorted narratives, to become the mainstream of what we hear in our daily lives, because we have enough of this already on all possible topics. But if we can really concentrate on some particular issues, and for us this is the issue that we are interested in and we believe in and we are engaged with, then let's try to really also make, to force in a way also by legal ways and means, these who are distorting the history to stop doing this.
Well, this is where American history, American contemporary life, and Polish life overlap.
I just read the judgment of the court in Pennsylvania, I think, the district court. It starts with the quotation from Orwell. It's about one of the museums that the current administration, they removed the plaquettes on slavery past. It was, but I dream about the judges who would start their judgments and decisions with quotes from Orwell in Poland. So you have it better, you see?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
We'll open it up. I'll just a short comment about the memory keepers, that actually the elderly are beautiful examples of the memory, and many of them very brave, talking about the war past and crying, and that I thought was the kind of the missing link, the silence that had been there, and some of the talking, like the teacher that taught Janusz about the half, and those Dzialoszycens who are now kind of who were 20 years ago opening up the memories about what really happened, really amplifying the heroic nature of the family that saved Menachem's, Rivka's father and his brothers. So,
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.